All right, surprise everybody. We're going a little earlier today, and as you'll see, I don't have my my other sidekick hidden with me today. He couldn't make it today, so I reached out to Mike because a few people in my community have actually asked me to talk to him about liquidity farming, see what he had to offer. So this became a perfect opportunity to kind of maybe bring him on, let him have a chat. You guys can ask any questions you'd like, and then we'll obviously have some call to actions like a regular AMA almost, but he can kind of just kind of sit in on our little blockchain after hours kind of more casual thing. So Mike, just in case people don't know who you are, because I know some people in my community, like I said, asked me to invite you or to talk to you about your liquidity farming tools, resources, guides, training kind of thing. Maybe just start with how you came to DeFi, whatever you want to talk about you, and just let us know who you are.
All right, sounds good. Well, thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for bringing me onto the channel and giving me a larger platform for me to show, the different tools and different guides that I've built to kind of help people along this DeFi journey.
My pleasure.
So a little bit about myself. So I started out in crypto, um, I think maybe like 2016 or 2015, like right around when the price of Bitcoin was like 2000 and like Ethereum was 200.
Yeah.
So just like right around that point. So I started kind of accumulating crypto during that time, kind of got familiar with it, kind of rode through the whole ICO boom. Then the ICO crash, didn't quite know what to do. So I just sold all my altcoins and just held on to Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I just was like not involved in the bear market at all. I just kind of sat through that. Then DeFi started to kind of like emerge on Ethereum, but I was still kind of unsure about dealing with the gas fees. Then Polygon launched, and that was kind of like the first introduction of everybody kind of getting like DeFi, where the transaction fees weren't like $15 or $20 per transaction. So I just dived in, and I rode Polygon Matic. I was introduced to BNB, and I've kind of been on this whole, I introduced to Solana, and I've been on this whole DeFi roller coaster ride ever since then. And I rode the bull market. Then there was the Ukraine war. Then we went into a bear market. But this time, I decided, you know what? I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to figure out how to manage DeFi through the whole bear market. And that's what I did. And managing, learning my way through the bear market, and then watching the ETF get approved. And now we're back in the bull market. And it just kind of, this has been like an extremely interesting journey. And, I've learned a lot along the way. And, one of the things I have discovered along the way is concentrated liquidity.
Nice.
And concentrated liquidity is something that has, been something that I was initially intimidated by. Yep. But now that I've taken the time to kind of learn it, I've started to see that this is something that can work in all market conditions. So, I mean, out of all the things happening in DeFi, probably concentrated liquidity, I'm like the most excited about. And as far as what I do on my personal, as far as like, what I do, when I'm not doing DeFi, professionally, I'm an investment banker. I started at Wells Fargo, and now I work at JP Morgan.
Nice. And do you talk to anybody at work about this stuff?
Not really. Especially especially like DeFi, it's just way above where bankers are at.
Yeah, no, yeah. So I'm actually a banker as well by trade. My 20 plus years was with Canadian banks, of course, in my case. But basically, 3 of the big 5 banks, I worked for them, so I know exactly what you mean, and that's why I wanted to ask that, because I have had some very minute conversations with them when I was first thinking of leaving the bank to go DeFi full time, and yeah, a lot of it's very plain over the head. What do you mean? Even when you explain it as simply as, we are personally, and what you're doing with liquidity farming, we're actually becoming the bank. And they're like, what? How do you become the bank? Like, and they're so close mind off on it. It's hilarious.
It really is.
Welcome, AC Trades. This is Austin Clark. Actually, we just I trade in with him, so a quick plug there. But I've just gotten about 600K funded accounts now, which I'm excited to start making some money on. So I started with learning to trade, which is far more complex than liquidity farming in the most part. But I decided to start with that. I probably should have reversed it, but I'm happy with my journey as it is. But now that I've kind of started doing the trading thing and it's taking less of my time, I did want to start diving into liquidity farming, which is why I reached out to you as per a request from a couple of my community members. So I appreciate that we were able to hook this up. And I liked a lot of the things you said. So you came in obviously before even I came into DeFi. So you saw the opportunity, and especially when you saw things like the development of new chains, Polygon, like that kind of stuff. Having that kind of background would be quite unique and handy in understanding both the bear and the bull, because a lot of people, I think, only came in possibly around last bull. And a lot of them probably did like you did the first time you were in DeFi and left during the next bear. And now hopefully some of them will come back, but we all know some will get scared off until it becomes more mainstream. So you've had an interesting journey, a little more extended than some, which hopefully helped guide you into this where you now are trying to help people learn how to have a skill inside this space as opposed to having to be, I guess, the only other way. You either learn a skill or you become a degen and get into these projects that unfortunately most of the time cause us to take 2 steps forward, 5 steps back. Were you involved in some of that stuff as well during your journey?
Yes, like that's that's like a deeper, kind of larger, like understanding of kind of the evolution of DeFi.
Yeah.
Because, early on in DeFi, like aside from being a trader, there were like limited staking opportunities, and a lot of the staking opportunities that were too good to be true often were. They weren't really sustainable yields. They weren't yields that you could verify. They were, and people call it things like Ponzi-nomics. There's all these different kind of terms for, these different projects people are getting in because they are attracted. They want these high yields. And, these developers are trying to create these high yields for them, but not always in the most ethical ways. So I mean,
not to interrupt there, but it brings me to a thought. So I guess theoretically, when DeFi first started, it was mostly liquidity pools because that was the only way for money to move around on the blockchain. So I guess in essence, then, were the first Ponzi's inside DeFi fake liquidity pools? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. What I mean is that, like we started with the liquidity pools, but the original design of liquidity pools, like the liquidity providers themselves didn't really make any fee yield, because the way that the liquidity pool works was it wasn't concentrated. You're providing liquidity across the entire range, and no individual liquidity provider is making enough money. So what ended up happening is all the early liquidity pools were 100% incentivized by farm tokens.
Gotcha.
So that is, and what happened was that was kind of the original, like first run of yield farming. But when there's a farm token with no value that people are just dumping to the ground, there's kind of like an end game on these farm tokens where there might be something that lasts for 3 months or 6 months, and then this thing just goes to zero, and nobody wants to go to the farms anymore because these things weren't creating any long-term value because they're just a farm and dump token people are trying to get out as fast as possible. So you saw like yield farming. So there was this whole run of inflationary tokens and this whole like yield farming thing. And beneath that was like miners and, different kinds of other type of projects that like locked your money up and promised you yields. But in reality, a lot of these kind of projects ended up burning people and kind of hurt people in such a way that now there's like a stigma of like, well, can DeFi really offer high yields, or are we always going to get burned? So, I mean, that's kind of like
node projects, I guess.
The transition. Yeah. That's kind of the transition that I saw. Yeah. So like, then there's like a middle ground where you have, where we're wondering, all right, is this really all that we're going to see out of DeFi? And then Uniswap released Uniswap v3. And for a long time, Uniswap v3 was proprietary, which means that it wasn't open source code. So only Uniswap could do it. So the other dexes are still kind of are basically still going in circles with a model that does not work. And then about maybe like a year ago, or maybe less than that, Uniswap released a code so that all the other dexes could use it. So now PancakeSwap is Uniswap v3. Now Uniswap v3 is on Solana. Uniswap v3 is on ICP. Uniswap v3 is on SUA. So you're seeing the Uniswap v3 code is now like proliferating across all the different blockchains because this Uniswap v3 code is the answer. Like it is liquidity that liquidity providers can provide and actually make pretty sustainable yields from 50% up to 1,000%, depending upon, how much volatility is in that pool and how thin liquidity is versus volume. And you don't need a single farm token.
Yeah.
So this is like a whole new era.
Yeah. And the liquidity pool, I mean, I do still see cake and those kind of stuff, but they're there with utility now to help bring strength, I guess, to the whole ecosystem, as opposed to just being a lost leader to try and draw people in. Is that correct?
Exactly. So, there are DEXs that don't have tokens. Like, for example, Uniswap is not really incentivizing the token at all on most DEXs, on most of the pairs I use. So they're able to function and continue to make money. Liquidity providers are making money. DEXs that now have a token that are using the Uniswap v3 code, that's a bonus now.
Yeah.
Because you're getting the fees and now you're getting the token. So that's their attempt to kind of draw business away from Uniswap, because Uniswap is like the trusted brand. So if you're going to get the same fees at Uniswap and you are going to go on PancakeSwap, probably people are going to go to Uniswap because of the brand recognition. But if you can get an extra PancakeSwap token, then I think you bought my business.
Yeah.
So exactly. That's kind of where we evolved. And when I first saw concentrated liquidity, the idea of picking a range, knowing how volatile tokens are, was extremely intimidating to me. Yeah. And so I didn't even really I was like, you know what? That's for somebody more complex than me. I just can't do this. And I just focused on other things for a while. But what happened was opportunity started drying up. And I started saying, all right, this thing that's intimidated me for as long as it has, let me just rip the Band-Aid off and let me just learn it. And I learned it.
I think all of us have to take out of these kind of conversations, right? Is everything's intimidating until you really just dive in. And I think more of us have to do that with a lot of this space. And sticking to things that are real, like liquidity farming, is a great way to do that. So a little shout out to you. It looks like there. So Shelly James says, "Hi guys, glad to be here. Thankful for what Mike is doing. I've learned a new skill and a good friend as well." Look at that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and that's why I reached out to you, because it did seem like even in my community as well, I hadn't heard of you. And a few people have came to me mentioning your name. So obviously it meant I needed to chat with you. And I like having options for people. Not everybody learns in the same environment. Not everybody learns the same way. So as much as there's other groups out there that I think do this kind of thing, I think having options for people to find their home is always very valuable. So I appreciated your time with me. I took a long time to get through the learning material because of my own life and my time in DeFi. But I did find it very bite-sized, very digestible, which I thought was very helpful for the way you presented your stuff. So I guess getting into a little bit of that, and there's a few questions, so we'll go to those for just a moment, or comments. But I guess Tech says Uniswap is great, but have to always got to look at those fees, which I guess with anything. And Quarter Mile, I'm going to leave that one for a little bit. I want to give him a moment just to talk about what he's doing, and then we'll go from there. MG, welcome, sir. Yes, it's been a bit. Welcome back. We're having a little chat about liquidity pools. Some are just themselves, like some pairs you're in. So yeah, blue chip. A lot of people like blue chip. And hey, Crypto Man, welcome, sir. Oh, hey, Cece. Thanks so much for joining. And so yeah, so I guess let's just kind of dive in a little bit at what you're doing, what your purpose, I guess, or your raison d'etre for DeFi, what you've kind of turned into something here, and maybe let the audience know what you're doing. I did post something in my Discord to let people know that you were coming on and that we were, and because everybody, like I said, have been asking me to post this. So obviously, if anybody wants to get into this after you hear about everything Mike is offering, basically you'll just DM Mike in Telegram, let him know that Pocket Ace sent you, just because there is a little bit of a discount for my community right now, and then he'll set you up. we'll get into more detail about that in a moment. But Mike, if you can maybe just go into what you're doing and what you're attempting to do for people inside the space, and how your learning works, I guess, because like I said, everybody learns differently.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely touch on everything. So the one thing that I am is a daily professional. So I'm not able to be on the blockchain and watch things as frequently as I want to. I get a lot of FOMO because of that, but I have to deal with it. That's just part of what my life is. So when I look at any sort of DeFi strategy, I'm like, okay, how can it fit a busy professional? So the thing about concentrated liquidity that was originally a little bit challenging, that made it difficult, is that you had to create these pairs with two tokens. And then if you want to rebalance, you got to break the pairs down. Then you have to get the right combination of the two tokens, and it's very cumbersome. But what has happened is, I think, like maybe over the last 6 or 7 months, 3 different companies have released several different softwares that basically allow you to one-click automate the entire process. So now Uniswap V3, managing your range, moving into a new range if you have to, rebalancing, not like anybody knows what that means yet. But the different things you have to do are now as easy as one click. And you can even do it from a mobile phone. So having the tools has empowered me to put together a course to teach people how to do this using the tools, because it's like 75%. Like, honestly, I don't know that I would even do it without the tools.
Nice.
So like, that's how much the tools give you a speed edge. It reduces like friction, and it just makes it a smoother experience because you're able to just make a fast decision, and then boom, 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 you can react to the market and you can just move on from there. And depending upon how you set your pool up, you can look at it every couple hours and make sure you're still in range, or you can walk away for a week or a month. But you can, you're able to do it with the automation tools. So everything I do is working with the automation tools. I have websites I recommend that let you quickly find the pools, and then I explain, a simple methodology on how to select your range, and also, what do you need to look for in a pool to determine that it's going to produce a high yield.
Nice.
And that is very, very important, because that is probably when I've talked to people who have been self-taught how to do this, the primary thing that they're missing is that they don't know how to find the best opportunities. And that's something that you will get in the course. So there are people so this is kind of like a beginner's course that is designed, if you don't know anything, you can like go through the course, and end of the day, you can have a liquidity pool open and you'll be earning. But at the same time, the methodology is so reliable that if you're already doing concentrated liquidity, but you're frustrated with your results, you can immediately get the course. You can see, all right, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. And then immediately you have a course correction. You also have an experienced coach in me that kind of like will work with you and help you with your course correction if you need it.
And just to go into that a little bit, and actually, oddly enough, MG's comment is kind of very timely with what I was thinking of saying to back up what you're talking about. So first off, I have gone through most of the course, and I can say with a surety that, you can feel very comfortable getting into your first liquidity pool, even partway through the course process. And the other thing, and I agree with MG, is I'm somebody that has to self-learn a lot of times, and unfortunately, it does cost a lot of money. During my trading, when I started learning to trade, I couldn't do it with dummy accounts because it would just feel like gambling. I'd throw in large lot sizes. I'd just do silly things until I actually felt the loss of money. It was hard for me to learn certain things. But now, having gone through that with the trading side of things, I found it very valuable to go through a course or have a community that I could reach out to and not do it alone in order to not lose as much. And I think there's a lot of value to us having tools and resources whereby you can avoid some of the loss of funds that you'd usually experience when learning something new by yourself on an island per se. So if I'm understanding correctly, so you have this course, which basically, I guess, for simplest stakes, it's kind of a large PowerPoint where you can kind of go through it step by step. It's very fluid. As you're learning, you can kind of pull up tools like Aperture, which I pulled up earlier when you started talking about tools, to help you learn as you go without actually having to commit any money yet. You can learn the systems and see the visuals using stuff. Is that all correct to say?
That's 100% correct.
And then from there, what you're saying is there's also a community that you get access to through the purchase of your course, whereby you can talk to people who are going through it or have gone through it already to help kind of verify things or verify thoughts or ask questions, including of you, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So there's a Telegram group, and in the Telegram group, people are talking about what they're doing. People are asking questions to the other students. People are asking questions to me. I'm leaving some feedback there, and I'm maybe a student answers a question. I may add a little bit more to that, and then I may see a really good question. I may pin that question so that when you come to if you're new and you're coming into a chat and you're trying to get the ropes, it's great to just go in and check all the pinned messages, because the pinned messages are going to be top questions.
Nice. Yeah, exactly. And CC gave you another glowing review as well. I just took the course, taught me so much quickly and got going right away. Mike is so helpful and patient. So nice that you have a few community members here to kind of vouch for you, which is awesome.
And certainly appreciate it.
Yeah. And like I said, your name is obviously was around. My name has been around in a few different places. So it was kind of neat that we kind of meet through separate venues, I guess, really, which is good. And sorry, Quarter Mile just asked this question, so I thought I'd pull that up. So with new LPs that pay up to 1,000%, what are some of the valuable currencies that they pay in that aren't farm tokens? So I don't know if that's accurate, but maybe if you can go through that. Like,
yeah, I can unpack that question.
Yeah,
I can unpack that question very well. Yeah. Okay. So the way that the liquidity pools work is that when you're going to get paid in fee, so fee is going to be half of the token, and it's going to be half of whatever the other half of the liquidity pool is. So most of the time, new tokens are going to be launched at 50% Ethereum and 50%, like TKN token. So when you get fees, you're going to get 50% TKN and 50% Ethereum. Now, what's going to happen is TKN is going to go down. So you're going to end up having a lot more Ethereum TKN, even though you got the TKN and Ethereum at the same time, at the same price. Ethereum just continues to hold its value a lot better than a lot of these tokens. So that's just something to consider as well. But that is what you're earning. You're earning, 50% of each of the tokens in a pool.
Yeah, and I'm just going to pull this up. I obviously I don't want to give away all the secrets, but there's easy. Now this one's don't laugh at me, guys. I got demo tokens. This is one of my only things that I'm farming right now, only because I got the tokens for free, sort of, because I have a device in my car. So what you're saying, it kind of just shows it here a little bit. But in this case, I've paired Matic with demo, which is a token that you get for having a device in your car. And because I didn't want to sell those tokens for now, while hopefully the value appreciates, I decided to pair them up here. And I'm kind of earning both tokens, as you can see here. So I'm only earning both Matic and Demo, while if anybody trades these on here. And so this has been less than 24 hours, and I've earned $6 on my $318 that I have in there. So just an example of what Mike just said there. Kind of thing for you is to see. And Aperture, I guess that's one of the tools I presume you go in. Actually, I don't presume, I know, but I'll let you explain it. But Aperture is one of the tools you go into in your course, I believe, right?
Yes. So Aperture, so I use Aperture and Revert. Revert, I tend to use because I know Revert works on every device. So you can be on mobile, you can be on desktop, you can use Revert, you can create LPs, you can close LPs, you can rebalance LPs, all with one click. So very easy to use. Now, Aperture is something that works only on desktop, but Aperture will allow you to automate your rebalancing. So if the price goes out of range and you want to rebalance to a new range to make sure that you're collecting fees, instead of having to wait to do it manually, you can set up triggers, and then the automation tool will just execute the triggers based on whatever parameters that you do. And that's like another kind of skill set to have, but it's a great skill to have. Now, the thing about Aperture is Aperture has a limited amount of blockchains it can be used on. So that's something to be aware of as well. Whereas, that's something to be aware of. So, if you're going to start to move to chains like Solana, if you're going to do chains like SUA and kind of get off of the non-EVM chains, there are still concentrated liquidity options, but just know you're going to be doing everything manually. So it's just going to have to be worth it. Because like if you can make the same amount of yield on a chain, it's going to allow you to automate, then why are you going to go through the hassle of doing it manually? The yield needs to be worthwhile. I would recommend if you're going to go away from the tools and work on a chain that's going to make you do everything manually. But once you've kind of gone through the process and you've used the tools, the idea of creating these things manually is a lot less intimidating once you've gone through 6, 7, 8, 10. Once you've gone through 10, 12, 15 LPs, like you're like, I'm doing this now.
No, I agree.
And then like
I haven't gone that far with it, but I can totally agree with you.
Yeah, but I mean, you'll get there because especially if you're going to do altcoins, you might be in an altcoin for 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, and then the liquidity dries up. You're just going to go to another altcoin. I mean, that's how a lot of people are going to approach this because they're looking to maximize their gains. In my course, you're going to learn how to hang out in a coin and not get wrecked. So you can hang out in a coin, not get wrecked, collect the fees while it's hot, and then you'll know, all right, what metrics am I looking at so that I know when to leave? And then you'll be able to very quickly go to the next coin if that's the game you want to play. Or you can just perfect and hone getting really good at squeezing out the most yield from your blue chips.
Yeah. And like all of this stuff, with practice comes almost a sixth sense, if you will. I've seen that even in my trading and thing, and I can see it being very similar in this, because you will sometimes look at charts, and there's going to be things that'll happen that you'll see repetitively happening, and those will be guides for you whether to get out, get in, do more, adjust where your ranges are in order to get better yields, or you might even know it's going to go up before it goes up. Like, it's so neat once you get harness a skill, how much that skill can grow, like anything when you practice it. So
that's 100% right. That is what is considered discretion. That's the discretionary element of like trading. The thing that's very difficult to kind of teach another person, they got to develop their own discretion. The ability to say, what trades am I going to take? What trades am I not going to take? Am I seeing something in the market because I've seen the pattern so many times? I'm just going to make that move. So all that discretion, you start to pick the same thing up as a liquidity provider. When you've gone through a few liquidity pools and you've seen the price action and how these tokens respond, you start to develop a discretion and get better at setting your ranges. And when you get better, it comes out immediately in your balance sheet. And that's what I really like about this.
And
you don't have to wait to start seeing your result. Like immediately when you get better, you get rewarded instantly.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And again, more of it's going to happen, especially as the market gets heavier and all that stuff, and you'll need to know where to go. And so I will tell you, Mike's course does go through even how to analyze, and it even breaks it down, if I remember correctly, even how to manage your time a little bit as well. You might not need to check the DeFi llama or volume every day, but every week you may want to look at it and go, okay, you know what, I've got this pair. Maybe I need to move this over here this week because volume's declining over here, but increasing over here. And a lot of these things might seem daunting at first, but until you start doing it and start practicing it and harnessing that skill, you're never going to see what your potential is. So I do agree, and I think people need to do this. And MG40, I will get into the links in a very soon moment. So a couple comments here. Mark says, I use Orca or Sui quite successfully, very low fees, and some good Sol alt correlated pairs. That's another thing that the course goes into. A lot of people may not realize what correlated pairs may be, and the value of those inside a liquidity pool managing is if you have two that, and again, it'll go into more detail, but if you have two pairs that move in the same way, one of the disadvantages, I guess, to liquidity farming is, let's say you have an ETH USDC pair. If ETH skyrockets in price, you're going to miss some of that price action. Whereas if you can find correlated pairs that pay very nicely, you can benefit from the price increase of both of them going up at once. So a little tidbit there, a little secret sauce, if you will. It's not really that secret. But these are the kind of things you're going to learn and get more adept in through the course and stuff, which I thought was great. And then Tet says, obviously, Crystal is another great tool that we see in the space.
Big
Sold.
fan of Crystal. I mentioned Crystal a lot in the course.
Nice.
I have like maybe 2 slides that point to Crystal. But one thing that we're mentioning a lot inside Telegram, Crystal is like the primary tool that we talk about. Crystal does a great job. When I wrote the course, Crystal wasn't out yet. So I had to add Crystal to the course. So there isn't like screenshots, but there's links to Crystal. Crystal's phenomenal.
Nice. Yeah,
It
it is.
it does a great job.
Awesome. So if anybody does want to seek more information, really, you can come by my Discord and ask questions or whatever. But in the main part, to get into this, it is kind of a private group that he does charge for. He's put in time to create this course. And like anyone that puts time in, as well as creating a community where you can ask questions, I think there's some value to cost for that. One of the things I have promised you guys in my community is that there is a one-time fee opportunity here, because a lot of people did not necessarily, not that they didn't like, but going into one that has a monthly fee option was sometimes a little bit more difficult. So the fee is a little bit higher. It's usually, and correct me, Mike, maybe did you want to explain it all? Because I know we have a little bit of a deal for everybody that's here.
I don't remember the exact price, but I tell you got 25% off.
Yeah, I think
That's what I know.
Yeah.
You got 25% off.
Yeah,
That's the
so
highest
regular
discount I'm offering right now.
It's your regular 300. Is that right?
I think that might be the price of 25% off. I'll have to double check, but I think that's about right.
So I think I have it pulled up here. So it's 300 is the regular price, guys. You're getting 25% off, which brings you down to 325 or 225.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Yeah. And then, so if anybody wants to take advantage of that price cut, all you do is you message Mike directly, and which is right there. And then you guys can figure out how you want to pay in crypto, whatever. And then from there, there'll be a more automated system down the road. I know Mike has some plans on how to grow this and do things. But in essence, you'll DM Mike for now, send him the fee. This could turn, or has already started turning, into something that would be a monthly thing, Mike. Is that true?
So, right. So, I have 2 courses. I have a monthly course that covers like the whole DeFi diaspora. We're talking about OPSEC, as far as like operational security, setting up your wallets, multi-wallet security system to make sure if you click on a link, it doesn't get to all your cash. We're talking about staking. We talk about portfolio management. We touch on portfolio management lightly, and then we go into the full extensive concentrated liquidity course. And we also touch on DEX vaults as well. But that is a monthly fee. And generally speaking, a lot of the clients that are interested in that course usually are like more beginners, because we're taking them through the whole DeFi journey. Like we have a whole course on borrowing and lending. A lot of the people probably in your community have already passed that phase. So what the course that I'm talking about here today is a standalone course, generally geared toward people who already know DeFi. You already have a wallet, you know how to handle your security, you know what a borrowing lending platform is, and you know what a liquidity pool is. You're just looking for the strategies to optimize what can be done with these tools. So it's a standalone course for people to just hit the ground running and just take off and just immediately start taking action. So it's 2 different kinds of products, and there are 2 different kinds of audiences, I feel like. And I feel like this is very much probably geared toward the aptitude of your audience. The one and done course that just gets you, it cuts through all the fluff and just gets you right to it. I do have a module on borrowing lending, but it's really written. It's like 3 pages, and it assumes you kind of already know how it works, and just helps you understand, all right, how do I manage my liquidation factor?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, to make sure you don't. Awesome. Okay. And that makes sense. And I appreciate that honesty. So if anybody obviously wants to go a little bit more in depth, there is a monthly option. But in the most part, I do agree. I think most of the people coming to view this would really be just looking to finally start learning a skill, because they're tired of being rugged, they're tired of whatever, and hopefully they've freed up some time. The neat thing about this over trading, for example, is trading, you kind of are at the whim of where volume goes to the market, which to get the best volume, you're talking like Eastern New York time during that kind of 7 to 10:30 kind of thing. Whereas with this, you can kind of do it 24/7. You can work around your own schedule. You may want to have access to things mobile if you want to fine tune and really really push yourself to be in range all the time. But if you didn't want to do that, just, this course would give you that opportunity to kind of more play amongst your own schedule and manage things amongst your own schedule. And again, using DeFi as a tool as opposed to having you being used by DeFi, to be honest with you, which is what most of us go through, is we get used by it thinking we're going to get rich quick and then finding out there's really no opportunity. So we talk a lot about gaining a skill and learning a skill to be able to apply that to making yourself financially free. And I think this is a great skill to have. And Crypto Experience obviously says really enjoys your course. Very simple and to the point. So, and I agree. Like I said, I went through most of it. I think I've got the last few slides to do. But yeah, it was very, and as much as some of it I felt like I knew, there definitely was some aha moments or some, oh man, I should have realized that or whatever throughout the course. And it was very well explained, in my opinion, to me anyways. As I said, everybody learns differently. But any other questions out there, guys, please go ahead and throw them in here. We'll probably wrap things up fairly soon. Mike, is there anything else you wanted to get into or any other comments you want to make sure you make or about what you're trying to do in the space?
Well, I mean, I think one thing that is worth noting is, I would say, the scope of the opportunity, because this isn't like necessarily like project specific. Because a lot of time you come into DeFi and you get attracted to a project, and now you're like, okay, this is a project I like. I'm going to shill it. It's going to go to the moon, and I'm needing this token to go very high so that I can make a profit. So there becomes this like, well, what if I didn't pick the right one? You kind of betting on the wrong horse. So this kind of takes you out of the horse racing game, where you're like, I can have a liquidity pool, and I'm going to basically figure out where the best opportunities are, and I will hang out in those opportunities. And as the price is going up and down, and there's a lot of trading volume, you can be in the liquidity pool and you can manage it in a way where you're able to collect the fees and manage when you want to get in and out. And when the volume is, often you find that these tokens are going sideways and there's a tremendous amount of volume, and the people that are really feasting are the liquidity providers, because so much volume is happening, but the price isn't moving very much. So you're able to look at the market a lot differently. Like, you're rooting for different things. It's like being a football fan and then playing fantasy football. When you play fantasy football, you're like, I need another catch. I need this guy to make this long field goal. Like, you're like, why can't my running back, why can't he get this carry to get a touchdown? You like immediately, like, you're watching a football game from a much different angle when you're a fantasy football fan, because the way you get paid is different. So when you become a liquidity provider, things that were very scary or very frustrating to you as a token holder are exceptional to you as liquidity provider. Like, if this token is trading sideways and it pumps and then it dumps and goes back to where you entered, you wasted your time as a token holder and you're frustrated and maybe you're scared. As a liquidity provider, you're just like dancing because it's raining money. It's just like, because you have a day where people will start capitulating and you'll have 7 days of trading volume all in one day.
Nice.
So that's
I've seen that sometimes. It just kind of goes up and down. Like, even on that one I showed you with the demo, it's like one day I'm making $6 in a couple hours, and the other day it's a little slower, but I'm still making. You're still always making something, and it really does. It's like you're running your own little business, and you can, like, everybody can win at this if they put in the time, and it's one of those crazy, weird things. And as long as DeFi keeps growing and moving, which I think it will, this is always going to be an opportunity, because now you're being the bank and running your own business as opposed to the banks running you. So very, very cool. Quarter Mile asks how long.
Very accurate.
Yeah, thank you. Quarter Mile asks how long is the course. To me, I guess my quick rendition after going through some of it, you can kind of work at your own pace. You can kind of get through it very quickly, at least to get the basics down and start playing inside of it. But like anything, to master it, you got to keep practicing, keep trying different things, keep finding different pools. But it's all, you'll get whatever you put into it, kind of thing. But is that fair to say? Is there any other details you want to give to that?
I mean, I would say if you're motivated, you can get through the course in the same day, and you can get a liquidity pool open, and you can know enough not to get wrecked in the same day. So it would make sense to go through the course a couple times and maybe get a little more comfortable. But if you're ready to go, you'll be able to get an LP open the same day.
Yeah, and that's the other cool thing actually is there are definitely some things in there that I learned that helped me not worry about impermanent loss as much, because that was obviously a worry that, and people do instill that kind of fear on you when it comes to when you're not educating yourself. There's words that get thrown around, right? And I've even seen somebody when I talked about starting liquidity pools, like, well, what about impermanent loss? And they started getting almost defensive, like I somehow was calling them out, even though I wasn't.
So true. Oh my gosh, it's so real.
Yeah, and they want to almost just shut you down right away and say you're an idiot. Anyways, there are tools in there or conversations inside of the resources that Mike gives you that talks about that and helps you through that. And there was some learning opportunities for me. Even though I knew impermanent loss wasn't as crazy, there's ways to fight it or to avoid it in very good ways inside of it. So I thought it was great.
Certainly is, especially on the blue chips. There's a strategy I discussed that eliminates all permanent loss. So there are ways to have zero impermanent loss on like any of the major blue chips. I have a list I probably will share in Telegram group for those that are interested, but I've basically built a list of it, of all the ones that you can comfortably, do concentrated liquidity, and with the right setup, you'll experience no impermanent loss. Now when you move to more volatile pairs, like the smaller altcoins, impermanent loss is unavoidable, but you're making the impermanent loss is like, how often are tokens pumping? Like what, 5, 10, 15% of the time? And then the other percent of the time, the impermanent loss is actually shielding you against losses, and you're able to earn those fees. So, that's like, I feel like on a high volatility pair, because the fees are so high, you're more than compensated for the impermanent loss, because you're going to actually make a lot more by being in a liquidity pool than being in a washing machine going up and down with the price.
Yeah, exactly. And Quarter Mile, always great for some questions, so I do appreciate you, sir. Do you members share their portfolios in there? I have seen some conversations about pairs and stuff, and I'm assuming that's going to grow as the community grows as well, presumably. But yeah, what kind of things happen inside there?
Yeah. And also, I think also the comfort level of the other students. A lot of them are still early on, and they probably don't know how the liquidity pools are going to work out yet. So they may not necessarily want to just like start posting ranges they don't feel comfortable with, and then people follow them, and then it becomes a situation. So I feel like the ones that are having more experience, that are confident in their ranges, and they're the ones that are kind of at the point where they're starting to show the different things that they're doing. So as more and more students get to that level of confidence, as they have more time in the system, yeah, I expect we're going to see a lot more people posting gains and showing their strategies and giving the play-by-play on what they're doing.
Yeah. And then we got a random
comment. Kind of like organic.
This is our random comment for the day. I haven't seen you in a while, Demon Slayer. Welcome. Hopefully everything's good. But Drip is useless clown. Yes, we know that, but that's not what we're talking about. So it's funny how Drip still comes into conversation. Although this is the first time I've heard somebody say Drip in a long time. That is one thing I avoided completely last bull run. I never actually got into Drip, or I think I got a token or two, but yeah. Oh, sorry, that's why he said that, because of MG. No, you can't pay with Drip. Jesus, I missed that comment.
Yeah, no.
I was wondering why Doomslayer all of a sudden said
yeah. You gotta love a DJ. Yeah, you gotta love a DJ. Still got Drip hanging around. Like, we can't do it.
Yeah, we're all demons at heart, but at the same token, I think we're all tired of it. I mean, I know I am. I'll still have some fun here and there, but very, very seldom. And now that I've started trading and then started liquidity pool, like there is zero reason to be a degen anymore. You can make way more money. Like it's not, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, it's not that crazy to even make 1 to 1.5% a day sometimes if you're managing your liquidity pools proactively.
It really is not. And the kind of people that would be active enough to be in DeFi on a regular basis to constantly learn new projects will not have any problem finding new liquidity pools. You don't even need to read the white paper. You just need to understand the system and follow the math to validate the opportunity. And then you just grab your scuba suit and you just jump right in.
Nice. Good analogy. Yeah, no, that's great. And I agree 100%. So that's the thing I think people need to realize is, like I said, there's so much value to learning skills in this space. And there's so much, we've still got lots of time to reap the rewards of this space. As much as there's regulations coming in, as much all that stuff, but it can be done safely and it doesn't take that much effort. But I think people just find so many things so daunting. They don't take that leap of faith into learning it. So I appreciate you creating something where people can do that. And I appreciate you spending some time here telling people about it. Hopefully some people take advantage of the offer, and hopefully they reap the benefits of the learning inside the space. And as your Telegram grows, I think it's just going to offer more value to all of you as a community to help everybody win really nicely in this space. So that's awesome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity, and I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, awesome. If anybody else has any questions, it's kind of last call. Other than that, we'll kind of wrap it up there. I didn't get into it as much, but yeah, as Austin said earlier, like trading also on the other side, I've been doing very, very well with that. I know we have usually more of a general conversation here about DeFi as a whole, but with Hidden having to not come on tonight, I quickly reached out to Mike thinking it was a great opportunity to kind of have him on the channel and get some people chatting about liquidity pools, because I know we talk about them a little bit on our blockchain after hours in the past, but having somebody that knows what they're doing in the space is kind of handy. And yeah, let's see what kind of people join the community, and hopefully we'll maybe have you on again with some success stories from some of the people from my community that hopefully will have some nice wins over the next little while, because I don't know if there's really a better time than now. That said, I should qualify that. Now's a great time to get into this and learn it, because you're going to be learning trial by fire as the market kind of goes. But the really cool thing about this, which you hinted to at the start of all this, is you can make money even in a down market, even a sideways market. You love a sideways market with these liquidity pools.
Ooh, I love a sideways market.
So yeah, any last words, Mike, and then we'll leave everybody with that.
No, I think you really nailed it. I mean, I feel like a lot of us came into DeFi, and aside from, learning to trade, like DeFi really hasn't really given us a skill that we could take with us and replicate it and be able to, make money. Like if you're a miner, then, you learn kind of like a skill how to be a miner. But for the people that are not miners and not traders, it really wasn't a skill. So now that we have this skill here and DeFi is kind of giving us this, I feel like it's just a great opportunity for people who have stuck it out in DeFi and have gone through the muck and mire and have been through all the ugly and all the nasty. This right here is our reward. We have something that's real and tangible, something that's ethical yields, that works in bear bull market. Because at the end of the day, even if these tokens are going down, people have to trade some BNB to get out of these tokens. Yeah. If they have to trade ETH to get out of these tokens. So when the market starts to get a little more frothy, you just go to the majors, because there's not going to be a day, there has not been a day since smart contracts have come out that there have not been ETH traded. Yeah. So liquidity providers we are very much the lifeblood of what is happening in DeFi. And if you look at the numbers on how much money is being generated, liquidity providers and the DEXs are generating more income than many of these blockchains are themselves. So this is an incredible business.
And that's actually another great point that I don't think we really hammered home is the fact that your barrier to entry into learning the skill is almost nothing, other than having some money to be able to invest. But that's everything in DeFi, right? You can't do it without some money. But you don't have to buy equipment. You don't have to know equipment. If you know how to work a wallet, then that's really all you need to get started at this course and to learn how to do this productively. So yeah, no, I appreciate those points too. All right. Well, thank you very much, Mike, for joining us. And thank you so much, everybody else, for spending some time with us. We'll finish that off now, and I'm pretty confident Hidden will be back next week if anybody missed him. If you are listening to this on the replay and you didn't quite see the message for Mike to call him out on Telegram, just come by my Discord. I posted it in there, and you're welcome to ask me. I'll post it in my Telegram as well, just in case anybody wants to message Mike to possibly join the course. So thanks again, everybody.
Say it out loud too. I can also say it out loud. It can also say the address out loud as well.
Oh yeah, I guess
you can do.
Yeah, it's just Mike Dre.
Actually. It's t.me/Mike Dre.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's
so t.me/Mike Dre. Twitter makes it pretty simple for us all.
There you go. Awesome. Yeah, no, that's great.
Twitter, Telegram makes it simple for us all. Sorry, I misspoke. Telegram.
Yeah, it's all good. But yeah, perfect. Yeah, t.me/Mike Dre. I also could put on the screen. Geez, get all the visuals, the audible. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Look at that. You improving my YouTube channel without me realizing. And I think I'd starred things, but I think I got through all the starred. Yeah, I did. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys, again, for joining us and spending some of your time with us. And again, Mike, thanks so much for giving us this opportunity to chat and to hopefully show my community some places where they can learn and earn. So have a great one.